Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2203. The topic is Q&A, and the title is How to Add Strength Training in a 30-Minute Workout. So one of my clients is a personal trainer. In their recent journal, they wrote the following. Hey, Rob, I got the new job at the fitness center. They only do 30-minute training sessions, though. We've talked about how strength training is important not only for strength, but for mobility, muscle growth, general health, etc. But I'm not sure how to add strength training elements in 30-minute sessions. At blah, 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 fitness, I'll leave the name out, they had worked before. Like I've worked with them, and they were a college student, and they got a job at a kind of commercial gym, and that would be the name of this fitness place that they don't want to say. They liked that place because they were able to do 60-minute sessions, but they weren't getting enough clients. So they now have recently moved to a new gym, and that's allowed them to get more clients, but they have a lot more structure to follow, and they actually are limited now to 30-minute training sessions. So I kind of went off there a little bit, but basically in their journal, they asked me, how can they do strength training in 30-minute workouts? And this is actually a common issue. There's a couple other trainers. Hopefully one of them is listening to this podcast. But we've talked about how in most commercial gyms, training sessions are just movement. I mean, the trainer just kind of gets the person to burn a lot of calories, move the body as much as they can in 30 minutes. There's not like a focus on technique development often. It's very like kind of low key, low quality of technique development. They're more so wanting the person to just have a hey, let's chit chat, let's be friends, that way you sign back up. And it's like, no, you're missing the point of it. You can be friendly, but still make the person better. So you can kind of do both those things. But usually the sessions are just 30 minutes of, talking and movement. And that helps with, some degree of calorie control, although the amount of calories you burn in a workout is far insignificant compared to what you need to do controlling-wise nutrition. But it does help burn some calories. There's general fitness development. If they've never lifted weights before, they'll get a little stronger, they'll build a little bigger muscles, they'll get a little better mobility. But that general improvement falls off very quickly. And then often there's no individual, not as good as it should be, individual attention for specific weaknesses, specific mobility issues, specific muscle development issues, like corrective therapies. The sessions are more so just, churn and burn, get the person moving, make sure they had a good experience, and that's it. And it's a bummer. It is. I remember one time I visited a friend of mine who's a personal training director, and we were chit-chatting about just training his trainers and figuring out some structures. And while we were talking, we were in kind of this gym's entrance area where you could get some drinks and sit at these small little tables. While we were talking, we just happened to watch one of his trainers on staff who clearly didn't know that we were there. He was texting on his phone while a client was doing lying leg curls. The client was doing them improperly, not good technique, no intensity. They just stopped at a number, whenever it must have been 10 reps or 12 reps or something. They just stopped. You could tell there was no muscle strain yet. The trainer looked up from their phone, said, good job, and slowly, quickly, slid their phone in their pocket. And they said, okay, let me show you the leg press. And then they just kept walking, and we're like, oh, man. So my friend was embarrassed, and I was like, it's not your fault, dude. But that is unfortunately sometimes what you see in commercial gyms. Now, there are amazing trainers. I'm friends with them, and they're clients of mine who are amazing trainers in commercial gyms. But that is unfortunately more of a rarity. So it's good to know if you're going to work with a trainer, make sure that it's not just, oh, here, grab this, oh, grab that, if you watch them train a couple other clients, make sure you're not all doing the same workouts. There should be some personalization to it. The person should not be on their cell phone. So I've had trainers at my gym, and I've had a bunch of interns over the years and helped other trainers at other gyms, and there's no need for you to have your cell phone. I know. I've heard every argument under the sun. That's where I keep my clients' notes, or, I love having this app so I can show them exercise technique and blah, 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 blah. But in any of those cases, if you have your phone, it should not see the light of day except for maybe once in a session. Like if you are literally showing the client something on the phone, but you and the client should both be looking at the phone at the same time. There's never a case where you should be looking at your phone on your own and the client is either doing a movement or you're kind of like sneaking it behind their back. You can say, what about emergencies? Like I'm waiting for so-and-so to call me. Have the ringer on. And I know that could be, and just tell the client, say, hey, I'm waiting for this phone call. It might happen during a session. I'm going to leave my ringer on. But still, you shouldn't have your phone, for the love of God. Drives me nuts. It's just one of those things, like if I was a client and I got up for a movement and I saw my trainer staring at his phone, even if he was entering notes, it's not a good feeling. It feels like the person's disconnected and they're not paying attention to you. So be very mindful of that if you're a trainer. I would highly recommend you use some other device or method, God forbid pen and paper, but some other method for tracking stuff. Do not have your cell phone. And then if you have your cell phone, like I said, you and the client should both be engaged looking at the phone for whatever the reason is that you have the phone, right? So how can we do better than what the unfortunate common is? The structures I would use, I'm going to give an example workout here in a second, is to make sure you have some kind of quick movement prep. You have to have some kind of mobility work, something to warm up the joints, warm up the muscles. And then, and that's not just walking on the treadmill. No. I'll get back to that in a second. Then you can have a main lift, and this would be the thing that you want to focus on strength. So a main lift that's going to be like the main focus of the workout. And then you would pair with that either like other exercises that are either cueing exercises or non-competing exercises. And these are often exercises that are lower in weight, lower intensity, and possibly more isolative work than the main lift. The main lift should be the most aggressive thing you do. The other ones are complementary or non-competitive to that main lift. So what do I mean by this? So if I was doing a 30-minute session, I would have the client meet me at the treadmills. So I'd say if you get there before, we can start, get there on the treadmill, start walking on the treadmill at 5% incline, because it helps to stretch out the calves and get the lower body more activated than a typical flat walk. So if you get here before me, before I'm ready, when I'm still working with a client or something, go to the treadmill, go 5% incline and start walking. Now, say you're at just finishing up a session and the client is walking over to you. Say, hey, and then turn your shoulders away from them and kind of 3/4 turn from them and start walking to the treadmill as you're talking to them. This should be a known thing. We meet in the cardio section. Too often I'll see clients just standing around waiting for their trainer to finish, and it's no. The trainer's job is to tell them what in the world they should be doing. So meet me in the cardio session, treadmill, 5% incline, and a pretty brisk walk. Okay? So you want to walk over to them and keep the chit-chat and normal hello stuff under 5 minutes. So I'll come back to this later, but a big tip is to wear a wristwatch that has a stopwatch feature. So as soon as you start walking over to that client, or as soon as you see them, you click that timer. You got 5 minutes. Get through all the hellos, how's the body feeling, did you get your food in today, how have you been drinking, did you get good hydration, how's the family, blah, 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 get through all that shit. 5 minutes, maximum time load, okay? Then you want to go to a circuit that would be movement preparation stuff. And this would be something that kind of targets the hips, the core, the shoulders, the upper back, kind of gets the blood flowing, gets the tight muscles opened up. So an example would be band face pulls, leaning over Cossack squats to help open up the adductors, hamstrings, all the hinging mechanics. And then band-assisted squats. Maybe they don't need the band-assisted. That's fine. So it's just bodyweight squats. Or you could do alternating reverse lunges, whatever the fitness level of that person is. So band face pulls, leaning over Cossack squats, and then band-assisted squats. They could do 3 rounds of that stuff very quick. I'll come back in a time breakdown here in a second. But you just do 30 seconds or less rest period. None of those should be so miserable that they're crazy out of breath. They're not going to be so out of breath from face pulls that they can't do the next movement. So they should just do the face pulls right into the leaning over Cossack squats, right into the bodyweight squats or reverse lunges or whatever it is. Then maybe 15, 20, 30 seconds at most, and then do it again. 30 seconds at most, do it again. Get 3 rounds in. Then you want to go to a main lift. Maybe your main lift for the day is going to be trap bar RDLs. Okay? Then You want to build around that movement with cueing and or non-competing exercises. So an example would be a weight plate chest hold good morning. If they're just holding like a 10-pound plate, and it could be a bumper plate or a regular metal plate, and you're just going to teach them hinging mechanics. So you just want to show them how they can hinge at their hips. And you want them to get to understand that mechanics because that's what they're going to be doing with the trap bar. Then maybe you just have body weight alternating heel touch hinged reverse lunges. And this is a reverse lunge that focuses on opening up the hamstrings and glutes and adductors. So you're not going to have an uprated torso. You're going to hinge at the hips, and your chest is almost going to point down to the ground as you would be doing the reverse lunges. That, again, opens up the hinging mechanics, but you're doing it in a unilateral fashion, so that actually challenges the openness of the adductors as well as mobility and balance in the ankle, the knee, the hip, and the core support for bracing. Then maybe standing lateral raises. An upper body exercise will not take away at all from the trap bar RDLs, but it gets a little bit of something for their shoulders and upper back. So you would just do a circuit of those things. You'd have the trap bar RDLs, then weight plate chest hold good mornings, the body weight alternating heel touch reverse lunges, then dumbbell standing lateral raises. You would have them do that. You'd give them about 1 minute, maybe 90 seconds of feedback. You don't have to do it on all the exercises, just whatever is like one or two most important things after that first set. Then you go another round, then another round, then another round. So what you can aim for is easily, like if we think of time breakdown, use the first 5 minutes on the treadmill, then maybe a 2-minute transition to get into that movement prep stuff with face pulls, leaning over Cossack squats and band squats. So you have 5 minutes on the treadmill, 2 minutes to walk over to where you have the other stuff, 6 minutes to go through 3 rounds with a 30-second rest of the movement prep, 2 minutes to transition to the main circuit, and then the main circuit, you're going to have 15 minutes. You can easily get in 3 rounds, probably 4, maybe even 5. So you do 1 or 2 kind of moderate rounds to get to the right weight load, and then you have 1, 2, or even 3 heavier, challenging rounds. And that's how you can fit it in. Like I've done 30-minute strength sessions, oh my gosh, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So is it challenging? You freaking bet it is. You have to be very purposeful with what you're doing, but hell yeah, you can do it. So the tips that allowed me to be able to do it, and the tips I share with like personal trainer clients, is number 1, wear a wristwatch that has a stopwatch function. Use that stopwatch all the time to regulate every single rest period. Don't ever go through a rest period without that watch going, because you'll start talking, the person will start talking, all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 minutes goes by, and you definitely did not need to waste that much time. So wear a wristwatch, keep all of your rest periods completely controlled, as minimal as possible. You also want to communicate with the client that the focus is on learning and efficiency. Like, hey, I'm excited you're here. Let's go through these movements. I want to teach you kind of the important things that keep you safe, what you need to make progress, but we also want to stay focused and stay on track. If we want to chit-chat, we got to chit-chat outside of these 30 minutes. That's got to be done some other time. I care about you. I'm happy you're here. You're a good human, but I want efficiency. As I've told my clients before, and I literally have told them this, I am a personal trainer, not a therapist. If you want therapy, I am severely underpaid. So, gotta pay me about 4 times more, and then I'll stand here and listen to you. But that is the focus, is you want to be friendly, you want to show that you care, and part of showing you care is to ensure that they're not throwing their money away, to ensure that they're actually getting something from the session that's going to build a better future for them. If we think of a traditional parent role, and I know not everybody has traditional parents, so it sucks if you don't. I'm sorry to hear that. But a traditional parent role is their job is to help you develop into an adult that will be functional in life and people won't hate. So just try to turn this baby child, into an adult that isn't a selfish piece of crap, right? Just can I help them have a normal, healthy life? part of that process is you will have to tell a child some things sometimes that they do not like. They might not always like you, but showing them how to be their best self is how you love a child. That's what you want to do with your clients, is your job and how you can show love to them, how you can show friendship and genuine connection is to say, you came to me because you wanted to be your best self. Well, whether you still feel that way today or not, that's what we're doing, because I want you to be your best self as well. So let's freaking crush this. Now, every once in a while, I've had a client come to me and they're actually crying. And it's like, okay, well, today's workout is probably not the most important thing to do. Why don't we just sit down and chat for a second? That happens. Somebody's crazy stressed about work. They've missed all their food, haven't been sleeping, they're dehydrated. I am not going to put them under a max effort squat. I'm going to be like, hey, you just want to train arms today and bitch about work? And they're like, okay, good. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So you do have to have some, EQ, emotional intelligence, to understand the moments. But your job is to help them be their best self. So you want to make sure the workouts are focused on learning and that the workouts are efficient. Then the third cue is the third tip is to teach single element cues. Don't overwhelm them. So if they do a set of the RDLs and you're like, well, okay, that was kind of all over the place, I'll just pick one cue. I'll say, hey, if you can on this next round, let's focus on keeping our heels pressed more into the ground. You actually want to be able to wiggle your toes. So at the bottom of each rep, can you be mindful of where your weight is? Is your weight in your heels or your toes? If you feel it in the toes, try to get back in the heels. The heels are where we want to be. Okay, let's go. And that's it. And then maybe the next one you're like, that was a great job. You did a great job with the heels. Also, what we can work on this time is let's look down, more 5 feet ahead of us on the ground, so your neck is more in a neutral alignment, so you're not staring up and cranking your neck. And that's actually contributing to you sometimes falling into your toes. So instead of looking horizontal with the floor, let's pick something 4 or 5 feet out in front of us and just stare down at the floor at that thing. So keep the heel pressure and then stare 4 or 5 feet ahead of you on the floor. So you just add one element and then you go. Then add one element, then go. If they didn't get the last element, don't add more. Let them do just that element again until they get it right. So this is how we can fit strength training into 30-minute workouts, is to wear wristwatch so that way you can be controlled in rest periods, communicate that the focus is on learning and efficiency, help them be their best selves, and then keep teaching cues to single elements. Then with an overall structure is meet the person at the cardio session, because they're going to want to chat for a couple minutes. At least have them get some blood flow up, at least have them get the body warm, at least have some benefit to it. Transition quickly. Make sure your movement preparation circuits, your mobility stuff, you do need to have that in the workouts to protect joints and make sure that they move better with better quality in their heavier movements for the day. Make sure that stuff is super simple. Very minimal equipment, very minimal learning, just move, here, do this, da-da-da, boom, 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 quick. And then for the strength stuff, you pick a main lift, and you pair that with cueing and non-competing exercises. Things that are a little bit lower in intensity and maybe help the main movement or don't compete with it. So doing lateral raises in between trap bar RDLs, totally fine. Not going to hold you back, right? So those are some tips. That's some good information. Hopefully that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, just shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like the podcast, and it's been beneficial for you, share it. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. If you share it on social media, that reaches the most amount of people, but even sharing it in a conversation with somebody is great as well. If you want to support the podcast, you can put a donation in on our website, www.brutalirongym.com, or you can go to Nutricost.com to buy your supplements. I've actually been buying supplements from them for over 10 years now. The code BrutalIron10 will give you a 10% discount. Then anything you buy gives a 10% commission back to us. So that's a great way to donate to the podcast as well. If you'd like more information from us, we share new and different information every single day on our social media channels. So you can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.